Hi, it's the M.L.M for the Soul channel, and I do have a new topic for today. Before I begin, I would just like to say, may the words and expressions of my mouth and the thoughts and meditations of my heart find favor and acceptance before you, Hashem, and some people I always like to thank who have inspired me, and I hope they can do the same for you. And I will have links to their sites below this video. They are Rabbi Shalom Arush, Rabbi Lazer Brody, Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Rabbi Eli Mansour, Rabbi Elona Nava, Rav Daniel Asor, Rabbi Yuval Ovadia, Nisim Baruch Black, David Sachs, and Rabbi Michael Skobac, Jews for Judaism. And also, I always like to mention, you may never have seen this channel before, and if you want to know what M.L.M for the Soul is all about, then do check out my first video, which is from a while ago. But that'll make you understand a little more of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and what M.L.M stands for. So the topic for today, again, I'm taking from this wonderful sefer, Lilmod וללמד. It talks about the weekly Parasha, the weekly Sedra, and it always has interesting stories and insights, and it gives me ideas for topics. So this one is related to the Parashat Tetzaveh, and the title is called Loshon Hara and Hearing the Bells. Okay, so what is this all related to? So this parasha talks a lot about the Kohanim and the specific clothing that they wore, especially the Kohen Gadol. He had actually 8 garments, whereas the regular Kohanim had 4, and very specific, the colors and the size and the designs and all kinds of things and the strings, and very, very, very detailed. So one of the things that the Kohen Gadol wore was the me'il, it's the coat. And the me'il was worn as a kapara, an atonement for the sins involving Loshon Hara. So now the me'il goes over the tunic. The kesones was underneath, and the me'il goes on top. Kind of like a, it was kind of like a, how would I call it? It didn't have arms, it just came over you, kind of like a talus. It kind of came over and draped down. So this is indicated by the fact that the color of the coat was blue. It was techeles, as the sky, and that we should therefore be wary of what we say. Furthermore, we're told that the neckline of the me'il was tight. It was tight, but it never ripped. It was tight around the neck. And this is a reminder to us to tighten our mouths when the desire to speak Loshon Hara is felt. And the me'il also had bells hanging from the bottom. These bells were of 2 varieties, gold and cloth. The golden bells tinkled, while the cloth bells were silent. This indicates there are times that an individual should speak, while there are other times when he should not. The opportunity to perform a mitzvah should encourage one to speak out, while one should remain as silent as a cloth bell when the opportunity to attack others arises. So isn't this amazing? From the actual clothing of the Kohen Gadol, we learn so much. We learn, number one, the color of the blue color, the fact that it was blue, like about the sky, like what we say. We should worry about what we say, because what we say goes up to Hashem. He hears everything. And that the tightness of the neckline, it didn't rip, but yet we should remember to tighten our mouths when we want to speak Loshon Hara. Like make believe you can't talk anymore. Well, if Hashem would do that for us, wouldn't that be nice? But then we wouldn't have free will, so we have to do it on our own. We have to remember. It's so easy to get caught in that trap because you don't realize you're doing it. And it's something you have to be really aware of. It's so important. And then about the bells, that's a very interesting thing too, and I'm going to talk more about them in relation to a different attribute that the Kohen Gadol would strive for. So we have to remember this, because we don't really realize that Loshon Hara, I mean, I could talk about this at length maybe for another topic. I don't know if I talked about it on any of my videos, but Loshon Hara, it affects 3 people: the person who says it, the person who hears it, and the person who we're talking about. It's, I think, worse, what I've learned is worse for the person who hears it, because they're taking it in, whereas they ought to not take it in or refute it. Or what if it ever happens to me and someone starts saying something, I say, oh, I don't believe it, it's not true, whatever you're saying, it's not true, stop. Like I kind of like negate it. Whereas if you just are silent and don't say anything, that's showing that you're accepting what they say. You have to say, no, that's not true, I don't want to hear it, don't say anything. You know, and people think, oh, but it's true. That's what Loshon Hara. Loshon Hara is truth. Loshon Hara is not a made-up story. It's truth about someone. Even if it's true, it's still Loshon Hara. It does not matter. We have no right to do that. The only times you're allowed is there's very specific times. And you can learn a lot if you go on the Chofetz Chaim. They have the Chofetz Chaim Foundation. Of course, the Chofetz Chaim, he got his name because he was so much aware of Loshon Hara. And I'll tell you something about him at the end relating to this, or I could say it right now. This is really beautiful. He said that once he heard someone speaking Loshon Hara, so what did the Chofetz Chaim do? He said, some people are preparing a telegram in the next room. Notice how carefully they scrutinize and consider each word. That's how careful you must be with your speech. So imagine that. You're careful. Like when you say, I guess years ago when they had telegrams, you had to pay, I don't know if it was each letter, each word. So you were so careful scrutinizing and also making sure you wrote exactly what you wanted the other person to get. So you have to be, so imagine he says it, so that's how you have to be careful with each word that you say. Like the Ramban said in his famous Igeres HaRambam, which was a letter written to his son, Nachman, that you should think before you speak, because you don't know how harmful those words will be. So getting back to the Chofetz Chaim, so he has a wonderful, I'll include a link to also they have a phone number that you can call in, and they have like on Shmiras HaLashon, like protecting yourself and all different issues about Loshon Hara, and times when it is allowed. There are specific times. If you know the other person is going to cause you to lose money, or relating to a marriage proposal, if something is amiss, then yeah, you are allowed to say certain things, but you're not allowed to embellish it. You're supposed to just say, okay, well, I know so and so has taken money from somebody illegally, but then you can't say, and also he's blah blah blah. You can't embellish it. You can't exaggerate it. You can't add your own thoughts to it. You have to give the exact information that's true, that would matter. The rest you can't say. So that's important to remember. So now about the bells, hearing the bells. So what's interesting was the bottom of the coat, the me'il, had these little bells. And what was the purpose of them? So they were to remind the Kohen Gadol of the need for humility in his actions. The clanging of the bells as he entered was a method of asking permission before entering the house of Hashem. And that's interesting because they say that also that relates to when you enter your home. Of course, if nobody lives with you, it doesn't matter. But if there's someone else in the home, you should always announce yourself. You shouldn't come in on them and scare them. So that's also the humility. Like we're entering the home, you have to make sure that the person knows that you're coming in. So then it says that the emphasis on this seems to be contradictory to the image of the Kohen Gadol's clothing, because the clothing is impressive. I mean, when they describe it, the turquoise and the purple and the gold, it's like regal, it's royalty. Kohen was very royal. So, however, it isn't a contradiction. What provided the Jews with their royal status is their sense of humility and awe in the presence of Hashem. It was in fact because of this humility that Hashem chose the Jews from among all the nations of the world to fulfill the royal position of the chosen people. Whereas the other nations who were so haughty and thought they were so great were actually unworthy of Hashem's favor. So that's the reason, the humility. The same thing with why he chose Har Sinai. Har Sinai was the humble mountain. It didn't think it was worthy of anything, whereas the other mountains thought they were so glorious, and they didn't merit that. They didn't merit to be the one when the Torah was given on Har Sinai. Har Sinai merited where the other mountains is not. So humility is very important. So that is a good information to remember, relating, interesting, to the Kohen's clothing. Like everything is so symbolic, has such relationship. We have to really take that in and study it and learn the importance of what we're doing, because we're coming to the very close to the end of days, as we say, and the coming of Mashiach speedily in our days. And I pray that we all merit, through our doing the avodas Hashem, doing the will of Hashem, doing everything in our power to get closer to serving Hashem in the right way, that we will see Mashiach and speedily in our days, and the rebuilding of our final everlasting Beis Hamikdash. Amen, and thank you for watching.